Welcome back to the Behind the Well Show. I'm your host, Roger Abel. We have Elias with us again. During the break, Elias, you were letting me know that you overfunded your tax payments, so you're getting a refund. And I think it lines up pretty good with the first thing we're going to talk about. If you have debt, should you use your tax refund to pay it off? But first, I want to ask you before we get into that.
Okay. What do you want to ask me?
Are you disappointed that you got a refund?
Well,
Like, do you feel like you oversaved? Because I want to know how you feel, and then I'm going to tell you my opinion on this.
I'm torn because I aim to be very close to even with my tax withholding throughout the year. And, because I don't want to just give away my money for a year and not be able to use it. But I was pleasantly surprised. And because we got like around $2,000 refund, which to me is like, when I first did it, I'm like, man, I overpaid by that much. That's a lot. But it was also a nice surprise to have $2,000 I wasn't planning on having. So I'm pleasantly surprised by it. And I'm actually was kind of a little bit shocked that I kind of like it.
So
last year I paid in, but that's not that big a deal. I don't really care about that. But getting it back is more fun than paying it in. I'll tell you that.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Will you adjust your withholding so that you don't get a refund, or are you just going to hopefully get another refund? What do you have a game plan?
I turned in a W-4 at the beginning of the year just to make sure it was correct. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I mean, it's not like next year if I get now, okay, at some point, like that's too much. I don't think 2,000 is too much.
No.
So I don't know. I'm not that hurt by it. And it's kind of like a forced savings too. I mean, every spring, if I get $2,000 I wasn't planning on every spring, am I really going to be that pinched up about it?
Would you have the $2,000 extra? Do you think you'd have $2,000 extra in your savings account if you would not have overpaid to the IRS?
No.
No.
Certainly not in savings. I mean, it might be in an investment account or something, but it wouldn't just be there. It would have been either saved somewhere or spent.
It would have been spent.
Probably spent.
Because that means you would have increased your savings rate by $160 a month, which you would have done because you didn't know.
Right.
You wouldn't have done it. So, to my point, as a society, we have overhyped. Oh, you don't want to get a refund. You let the government have your money for a tax. It's a loan you gave the government. Okay, well, let's think about this. So $2,000. Remember, it wasn't all funded day one. It was funded over 12 months to get this $2,000 refund.
Yeah, because really I overpaid $160 a month.
Right. So let's just say, though, to make the math easy, that it was all overpaid in the first month. So you started January with $2,000 of a loan, because we're going to call it a loan because it was your money still, that the IRS had. And you made a really good interest rate of 5%. You made $100. So you mean to tell me that people would rather get no money back versus get $2,000 back, because we've already declared that you would not have upped your savings rate $160 a month. Would have went somewhere else. So you had $2,000 and you gave up a hypothetical $80 to $100 of interest.
Which is really skewing the numbers.
It's probably like $40.
Yeah.
Because what's 4% on $160? $7.
Yeah. So
I think we've overhyped getting money back. For most people, it's a blessing. I can tell you what a curse is if you undersave, because most people spent the money that they owed. And guess how they pay for it?
It's
Payment-
easier to get it back than it is to pay.
Payment plan or a
'cause I've
credit
done
card.
that.
That's what they're doing.
I've had to pay in years. It's easier when you just get some back.
So the original question, because we get it. I got a tax refund. What should I do with it? Should I pay off my debt? If you have outstanding debt that is non-mortgage related, yeah, you should pay off debt with it. Best thing to do with it.
Yeah, there's no, especially if it's credit card debt. Yeah. Why
all
not?
of it.
Yeah. Get
Put
your
it all
debt
on
paid
there.
off. I think there's a couple other things you could consider doing. You could consider building up a buffer in your checking account, your savings account, your emergency fund, whatever it may be. Especially if you think about, let's say for the last 10 years, you've had your emergency fund is $50,000. That's my emergency fund. Well, if you haven't really changed that or thought about, how does inflation impact what my emergency fund should be, or what's my income now? Maybe beefing up some of those just cash positions, not a bad idea. At least it's something to consider.
No, I think it's 100% either, pay the debt off. If you don't have any debt and you don't feel you have an adequate emergency fund, beef that up. And part of the reason we're talking about this is April is Financial Literacy Month. And we've talked before on the show that we believe that financial literacy starts with kids. And as a society, we've done a pretty poor job of teaching our children about money. Unfortunately, we spend more time teaching foreign language to kids in high school than we do on managing money, and managing money is something they're going to have to do every single day. And in no way is this a knock on people that teach foreign language or any of that, but I would argue that understanding how to handle money is significantly more important than learning a second language.
Well, and have you had the experience of paying cash at a place,
and they can't count
gas
the change
station or a restaurant?
It's wild.
Where
They can't figure the change out.
Right. So young people, making change is like a lost skill.
They don't know how to do it. It's wild. Yeah, I mean, when we were kids, they were teaching how to do quarters and pennies and dimes and all this stuff. My kids don't ever talk about that.
You know what makes it more wild? The machine tells them
exactly how much to give them, and they don't know how to do it.
So, and that actually, I had a situation recently where that happened. And for me, it is important teaching my kids about money, but that kind of made me shift a little bit of my thinking. And I think when my kids first start working and making money, I am going to make them handle cash. Which maybe that's silly, maybe that's too old school, but I feel like you should know how to handle some cash.
Do you have a piggy bank at your place?
Oh yeah, all the kids have piggy bank.
So Nellie's 10, right?
Yeah.
So Blake, now when she goes with friends, we send her with cash. So they'll go to the jump park, give her a couple 20s. My wife's like, why are you giving her all that money? It's not to give her the money, it's to make her figure out how to use the money. How do I pay for things? How do I buy things? And not just swipe a card, just understand, hey, I have $20. She always comes back with 20. She doesn't buy anything. I have a few stories about my oldest is thrifty. My youngest, not so much. But I think one of the things we got to teach our kids is what's the difference between needs and wants. And I believe it's in society in general. I think that line has been blurred drastically over definitely the last 10 years. And I think it's largely due to the influence of social media. Everybody sees their friend on vacation. Well, I need to go on vacation.
Yeah, I do.
No, what you need is food, shelter, water. That's what you need. So I think talking with your kids about, do I need this or do I want this? There are needs in life, there are wants. 2, got to explain how money works or how earning money works. Do you do chores or anything for your kids?
Well, not for pay.
So
They don't get money for doing chores at the house.
But have you thought about doing it not to pay them, but then teach them how to handle the money, how to save and do all those different things? Like, I know you don't have to pay them to do the chores.
Yeah.
But then they have to make decisions.
I think when it comes to explaining how money is earned and how it works, I think our kid, they do understand that, like, dad works and that's how our family has money to pay for things. And I don't actually, well, they get, when they do get cash gifts, they have piggy banks that they can save it in. And they do actually, my kids are kind of frugal. Preston got $10 for his birthday, so I asked him, should we go to the gas station and go spend that and buy some treats? He goes, no, I think I'm going to save this. But he probably knows, like, he had to spend my money anyway. But I think I do a good job of letting them know, like, we don't have nice things because it just appears in life, right? Like, we have nice things because Mom and I work hard to have those things, especially you have little kids. How good do they just naturally treat stuff, right? They throw stuff on the ground. They don't put stuff away. It's like the other day, Preston broke something of his, a toy or something, and I made him throw it away. And I told him, we're not going to replace it. If you don't take care of your stuff, you don't just get new stuff. It doesn't work like that.
Here's what I've found with my oldest. So there's, you know what pink palm puff sweatshirts are?
No.
Okay. It's some brand of sweatshirt that these kids are like crazy over. And there's the real one, and then there's like the Amazon one. The real one's like $100. So most parents aren't buying their kids $100 because they don't take care of it. Well, my daughter got one for her birthday. It was her birthday present. It was a sweatshirt she really wanted. And her friend was super jealous of it and told her, like, hey, I'm really jealous you got that. And I had to explain what jealousy was to my daughter. So it's not bad, just means she wishes she had one.
Mm-hmm.
She takes really good care of that sweatshirt. Because other
her
people,
friend is jealous?
Yeah, because her friend wishes she had it.
Maybe,
so,
yeah, there you go. But now she gets it.
That's the first time I saw her to commit to, hey, I want to take really good care of something. So typically, because she has the Amazon version, because that's what her friend had, they wanted matching sweatshirts. So she'll wear the matching one like most of the time, unless we're going somewhere nice, and then she'll wear like the nice one. She doesn't wear it everywhere.
Good for her.
Like, she doesn't wear it to school because she doesn't want her friend to be sad that she doesn't have one.
Wow, what a nice friend.
But here's the other thing that I recognized about, and one of the things that we've done with kind of trying to teach budgeting. It's not really budgeting at that age, but like how to utilize money. I think like what you did with Preston. Blake had a grandparent give her, or somebody gave her $100 for her birthday. And I said, what do you want to do with this? And I kind of equate things to Barbies. I'm like, did you go get like 10 Barbies? Like, you know, she's probably too old for Barbies now. I told her you could buy another sweatshirt like you have. You wanted to get another one. So I told her the options. The option was to save it all, spend it all, or save some and spend some. And we put money into her bank account so she can see the number. And she's like, Dad, I think I just want to save it all. I go, all right, that's good. Like, she didn't desire, like most kids were like, yeah, I want another sweatshirt like that. No, she's like, I'm good. I'm going to just save it. Good. And then she'll occasionally ask me, because she sees me in the morning. You know, I get up, check the email, go to the bank account. She's like, how much is my bank account, Dad? So she'll look at it, you know, she's earning like a little tiny amount of interest. But when she puts money in, I match it. So I kind of do the matching deal. So she puts 100, I do 100.
There you go.
I don't do the grandpa savings account. But I think that is a good thing, good way to teach kids about saving early is, hey, look, your money's going to grow if you put it in there. And we have some clients who started custodial Roth IRAs for their kids like 5 years ago. And he told me, he's like, you know, the first deposit was really boring. They put like $3,000 in. He goes, but the kids are having fun now because last year they went up like a few $1,000s. So these kids are like, whoa, I got a few $1,000s more. They thought that was pretty cool. So if you can kind of teach them how the compound interest
Hopefully
works.
they're not looking at it this year.
They just
Actually,
sent some more money in the other day.
They should look at it to also teach that, hey, this can go both ways. It's
The
gonna
parents
go up
of-
and down over time.
The parents of these kids are probably some of the most financially disciplined people that I work with.
Yeah.
They enjoy life, but they're debt-free in their mid-40s. They have a really nice house. They don't make exorbitant amounts of money. They've just been really, really responsible with their money from a really young age.
Yeah, they're a good example of how simple it can really be.
And they're trying to teach their kids.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about this a lot. Our parents didn't have anybody to really teach them about investing because their parents had pensions. Think about it.
Hopefully.
If you're in your 60s, your parents had a pension and Social Security. They likely didn't have a 401k. And if they did,
Yeah.
it became late in life.
Yep.
They definitely didn't have a Roth IRA since those came out in the late 90s. You know, most people don't start saving a Roth IRA when they're 60.
I'm pretty sure my grandparents retired in the mid 90s. So
Before it
before
even existed.
or right around when it started.
Right. The fifth thing we can teach our kid about is what's good debt, what's bad debt. I mean, really at this age, I'd be talking to my kids about all debt is bad.
It's a good starting place.
It is, because your kids are nowhere near taking a mortgage. The first debt your kids are likely going to take or try to take is going to be for a car or for school. And a car, you should be talking with them way early about, hey, how are we going to pay for a car? Not take out a loan to buy a car.
Save up the cash.
Save the cash up.
Buy it.
Matching fund. Hey, your kid's 11 years old. They want a car. You got 5 years to save. Figure out how to do it. Match the kid. Help them get there. You know, if that's what you want to. I mean, most parents are going to provide some type of transportation to their kid, but put a little bit of the effort on their end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now you might want to cap it. Like how much you're willing to match if you're going to do a matching account for a car.
Yeah, we're not buying a
Cap it.
Mercedes.
Well, remember I had that kid who was like 15 years old come in here, and he had, I think it was like 60 or 70,000 saved. He was doing side jobs. He's a welder.
Yeah, wow.
Could you imagine if he had, Mom, I got 60. I need another
His mom
60.
can't match
but,
that. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If you do it, make sure you cap it, put some restraints on it. But have a talk about what is debt and why you take it and why you don't. You know, debt compounds just like compound interest. Compound interest that's really what we should teach our kids about, how compound interest works.
Yeah.
How
and
you
it's-
turn $5,000 into $1 million over 50 years.
Well, and starting young, it's one of the easiest things you can do to really set yourself up for success. The younger you start, the more your money's going to compound over time, the less you have to save to have equivalent results as someone else. So how do you go about teaching kids about compound interest? Illustration?
I think, remember the client we have that has the grandpa account?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking
I don't
about?
remember.
They pay
not
10%
offhand.
interest a month. Grandparents pay 10% interest a month.
Really?
So if they have 500
I remember
bucks,
talking about this. I want one of those.
but that's probably the best way. Or like the clients who have the custodial Roth accounts. They're putting money in that those kids have earned, and they're watching it grow. But I think the easiest one is the grandpa account. And hey, maybe it's 5% interest a month, whatever. Just something where they can put $100 in from a birthday and see it turn into 200, because it's positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
If you put 100 in and it turns into 200, you're like, well, that was cool. Now, instead of buying one sweatshirt, I get two.
Yeah, and I think with the custodial Roths and things like that, I think that's a really underutilized tool.
Well, you have to have income. Your kid has to have income. And unless you're a business owner, it's a lot harder. Just think about this.
But there's plenty of kids that work part-time.
But not
even
11
as a high
and
schooler.
12.
I'm talking about high school
Correct.
age. You go get a part-time job when you're 14 or 15. How many kids work in the summer, and they could put that money, they could invest it.
$5,000 over 50 years turns into $1 million.
There you go. You could have that saved by the time you graduate high school.
You know what I keep thinking about? I thought about a lot the last 3 weeks. Remember the chart I pulled up that had the two biggest decline days in the market?
Okay.
And what was it? April 4th and 5th was like down 10.5% was the 5th.
Yeah.
And how all the other 9 times the market went down, the 9 other largest 2-day percent declines, the market averaged over 100% return in 5 years. That's all I keep thinking about. I'm like, I could accelerate a double on my money. I thought about, but that's people not in our industry don't think about that. If we can teach our kids to think about that, hey, my money's going to double. But I'm like, how do I make that
opportunity to double it faster?
Yeah, I could double it in 5 years, likely. Based upon past history, I'm going to double it in 5 years versus waiting the standard 7 or 8. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's 2 years sooner.
2 years sooner and more money that's going to double that money faster.
Yes.
So teach them about compound interest and then ultimately got to teach them to track their spending. This is the hardest thing to do because how do you track a kid's spending in today's society? Because, you could have a notebook, but it's really hard to track your spending because you're not going to give your kid.
I don't know. Probably should teach them how to do it on a spreadsheet.
That's the only way.
So then I wouldn't want to start on a notebook, but on a spreadsheet, you could just track it right there.
Really,
that might actually start teaching them the real. If you track your spending, you can probably start to grasp the real value of it. Remember being a kid, and if you got $100 bill, like you thought you had unlimited of money. At least I did. I remember being young and probably for a birthday or something, I had $100 bill. I probably thought I was the richest kid in the whole town.
Well, under 10 years old, they know what money is. They don't grasp how much money is a lot. And I'll give you the example. I go back to the dollar store example with my wife. Took the kids to the dollar store where everything's $1.25.
Okay.
So we go there to buy coloring books and whatever, like little tchotchke items for the kids to play with. My wife's like, why wouldn't we just go there? Go to the dollar store. My oldest daughter was in there with her. And she told my wife, Mom, don't buy anymore. You're going to spend all of our money. Because she was equating the number of items to lots more money because she didn't have a grasp of it was $1, right? There's nothing to benchmark.
Yeah.
Again, she just saw a lot of stuff, which means a lot of money. So they don't really grasp how much an item is. But if you can teach them about that, which we did, my wife is like, these items are actually fairly inexpensive, even though we got a lot of stuff. But my wife used that as a teaching moment. The reason we come here is because we get a lot of stuff that you're going to use one time. So why would we spend a lot of money on it?
Right.
Like how many
once and then it's going in the garbage.
How many toys do you have that you use for 2 or 3 weeks and then
all of them?
All of them.
Every last one of them.
And they go in a big black garbage sack right down to Goodwill. Elias, then we have to kind of work our kids from understanding money. What are some basic investing concepts? And I remember taking a class, I want to say it was probably 7th grade. And it was back when you still had the newspaper and you had to pick out a stock and track the stock price in the newspaper. But I think a really good way to teach kids about investing is have them find a stock they're interested in. So for my kids, they would rather get paid in Roblox than real money. Robux, excuse me. Right? But you
Robux, is that what it's called?
Yeah. It's like the money you get to spend in Roblox.
Nice.
Because that
has more utility for them.
There you go. But either way, so you could go find a company that they're interested in and have them start tracking the stock price and see how it goes up and down. And I think that's the easiest way to teach a child an investing concept. If you start talking about the S&P 500, they don't care what that is. But if you use a stock or a name of a stock that they're familiar with, they can likely get engaged with that.
I think that's That's a good point. And I think, right, introduce the basic concepts, but how much further, if you did that, if you graduated from high school and you had a basic, so, now we're saying you're 18, you graduate from high school. If you had a basic understanding of kind of what a stock is, what a bond is, in general, what the stock market is, or like the S&P 500, what it is, a little bit how it works. If you really just had a basic understanding at that age, how much more prepared would you be to be an adult than every other person that has no idea what any of those things are?
What if we just subbed out one semester of foreign language for a semester of investing?
Don't all the schools offer business and finance
I'm
classes?
not saying
but
offer.
They're probably elective in high school.
They're elective. Make it required.
It's required in my house.
Every single person in America is going to have to invest money to retire. It's no longer an option.
Well, and even if you choose not to invest, you're going to have to handle money to make your life work.
Like, I don't know why we don't require 4 years of money management to graduate high school. Why is that not it is the single most important and common thing that every single person in America has to do. And we don't require it.
I don't have an
we
answer.
glaze over it.
I don't have an answer for that.
Well, it's all agenda, but neither here nor there. Like, that should be the top of every educator's agenda. How do we make successful human beings? And it's impossible to be successful in the world without managing money.
I'm with.
Am I
agree.
right?
Yeah, you are. I agree.
And, part of that, it's not just like getting the money. It's also teaching them what credit is. Got to teach them how credit works, because I would venture to guess if most kids coming out of high school or graduating high school understood the ramifications of the student loans that they were going to sign up for, many of them would make different decisions. But it is seen as just such a normal thing that everybody does. We have normalized getting into debt immediately, and you don't have to go to debt to go to college.
Isn't that bizarre?
There's choices. And I've told you my story. There was a private school that I really wanted to go to. I had family members who worked here, and I mean, that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to go play football. They ran the West Coast offense. I was a wide receiver. I thought this would be awesome. I went and met with financial aid, and my grades weren't quite good enough to get any free money from the school. My parents made too much to get any free money for the school, so it was like full tuition. It was $44,000 a year. This is in 1997. I walked out of there, and I had a bag phone. My dad gave me one of those Verizon bag phones because I was driving a couple hours away, and he's like, well, when you're done, call me. And my dad taught at a community college, and so he knew the price before I left. Like, he knew, but they didn't say don't do it. But I knew that my parents were paying in-state tuition. For any of the major colleges, they'd pay that much tuition. Anything beyond that, I was on the hook for. So I call my dad on the way out of town. He goes, well, are you going to go there? I go, no way. He goes, well, why not? Did you like it? I said, I loved it. But Dad, it's $44,000 a year. So he's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to school where you work, where we get half off. Like, but I had the conscious decision, because my parents had taught me about money from a younger age. I had the conscious decision that I was not going to borrow $225,000 over 4 years to go to a school that I wanted to go to. And at the end of the day,
I can't believe it was that much back then.
$44,000. That was room, board, books. $44,000.
It's probably not even. Is it more now?
Well, I'm sure. I mean, it's a pretty.
I didn't know that school is that expensive. Wow,
that's how much it was. I'll never forget it, because it was the one school I wanted to go to.
That's crazy.
And how many. And we're setting our kids up in some cases, because I've heard people say, well, I don't want my kids to go to junior college. If they don't know what they're going to do, why not? Why would you go waste the money? If you tell me it's about an experience, you know what? Don't send them to college. Send them to Europe for a year. It's going to be less than college. They're going to get a real experience.
And that's what the colleges are selling, an experience. They're not even selling academics anymore. It's all about amenities and the experience.
Yeah.
But the material's the same, and no employer cares.
No employer cares
No
anymore.
one cares. If you get a degree and it's in the field or the industry that they work, so they know you have some knowledge, I really feel like most places view that as, okay, well, we know you can finish a project because you went to college for 4 years. That's the biggest signal of that.
Okay, here's what I think the benefit. There are colleges that are clearly more prestigious and elite, and some of the private colleges. I do think there's probably a level of we are going to take care of our own at some of these private schools and bigger elite universities in the way of opportunities. I mean,
Yes,
let's be honest.
There are absolutely schools like that, but it's a handful of them, and most of us aren't going to a school like that.
And it's not worth $250,000 likely or more. Because that's not a doctor. That was for a business degree.
How many people can get into those schools?
Right. So just teach your kid about credit. What's going to be the ramifications of being $200,000 in debt? Fortunately, I realized what the ramifications were when I was 18. Otherwise, I could have been $250,000 in debt like that, because I viewed that school as a need. If I would have viewed that school as a need versus a want, I'd have been $200,000 in debt. But I saw it as, and my parents had talked to me about, hey, where you go doesn't really matter. You just need to get the degree.
Yeah. Well, good for them for giving you good guidance on that.
So with that said, I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. If you're looking for a little bit of guidance from us, you can get us at btwellshow.com. You can click the link in the description. Once again, if you enjoy the content you get from our shows, please subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep getting you all the information on a weekly basis. Once again, thanks for listening.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure a profit or protect against loss. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal. Rebalancing a portfolio may cause investors to incur tax liabilities and/or transaction costs, and does not assure a profit or protect against loss. Dollar cost averaging involves continuous investment in securities regardless of fluctuations in price levels. Investors should consider their ability to continue purchasing through periods of low price levels. Such a plan does not assure a profit and does not protect against loss in declining markets.